Hello everyone, and welcome to the presentation of the Veratron GO device today. My name is Luca Ravelli, I'm a product manager here at Veratron. So just before we begin, I would like, as always, to remind you a couple of things. The first one is not to forget to download the webinar attachments. There you can find some useful information like the technical datasheet of the Veratron GO, some high-resolution pictures. So please, just before closing the webinar today, just don't forget to download them. The second thing is about your questions. So if you have any question all throughout the presentation, just type them into the webinar client. So all these questions will be submitted to us after the presentation is ended. So we will come back later on one by one to you with an answer. So today we're here to discuss about this small but yet powerful object that I'm holding here in my hand, which is the Veratron GO. Actually, the Veratron GO is a family of products. It's composed of 3 devices, namely the Veratron GO GPS, the Data, and the Plus version. These 3 devices share the same appearance, the same housing, the same mounting concept, the same connectivity, but they have 2 different core features to differentiate them. So the GPS receiver and the NMEA 2000 to Bluetooth gateway. So we will go first in the presentation by seeing these common features for the devices. In the second step then, I would like to show you first the GPS receiver and its characteristic, and then the Bluetooth low energy gateway. In the last step, I would like also to introduce you to the newly launched NavDash app, which is the first app that we have developed compatible with the Veratron GO. So I think we're good to start now, so just lean back and enjoy the presentation. The Veratron GO is about 3 different devices, so the Veratron GO GPS, the Veratron GO Data, and the Veratron GO Plus. As you can see from this picture, the appearance is the same between the three products, but they have different features. So the first one is the GPS version. We launched this already last year, so some of you might already be familiar with it. And this one includes a GPS receiver. The 2 variants that we are here to introduce today are the Veratron GO Data variant, which embeds NMEA 2000 to Bluetooth Low Energy Gateway, while the third variant, which is the most complete, is somehow the sum of the 2 previous devices. So it embeds both a GPS receiver and the Bluetooth Low Energy Gateway. So let's first start with having a look at the common features of these 3 devices. So as we saw already, the aesthetical design of these devices is the same. So it's a very compact design. This is actually one of the strengths of this Veratron GO. So the size. Actually, the GPS is rated to be the smallest NMEA 2000 GNSS antenna on the market. So you saw it when I was holding also before in my hands how small it is. So the big strength is then the small installation footprint. It does not require a lot of space on your dashboard, on the hull of your boat, for example, where space is always a problem. And in fact, the minimum cut hole that you need to have for installing this device is the size of the NMEA 2000 connector to pass through. So here is set to be 16 millimeter. You see here that overall this device is slightly less than 2 centimeter in height, while it's approximately 60 millimeter in diameter. So you can install it pretty much everywhere in your boat without being noticed. The mounting can be inside, can be outside. Of course, if we speak about the GPS version, would be better to have it outside because it requires to have a proper sky view to function properly as a GPS. The other features of the design of this instrument is the white plastic housing, which is made out of ASA material. You see here what ASA means. Enough for you to know that the ASA plastic is something that we are widely using with our outdoor products because it ensures the maximum UV resistance, which is very important, of course, being an outdoor device, and a high resistance to environmental stress. This is also very important because to avoid cracks and so on. The bottom side of this device is filled with bicomponent resin. So this ensures that the device is not only water sealed, but is also air sealed. So to complete the design, we have the connector in the bottom side. This is the standard DeviceNet M12 connector from NMEA 2000. And you just see this connector because that's the only connector you need. So this device is so low power consumption that can be powered from the NMEA 2000 backbone itself. So this is allowed. You don't need additional power supply wires routed to the device to have it powered. So this is a great advantage as well. Let's come now to the mounting concept. So how do you mount this device? We provide, together with the Veratron Go, an automotive-grade biadhesive tape ring, which is used to install the device on the surface. This is a very reliable tape, which is widely used in automotive. It provides high resistance to both vertical forces and horizontal forces, so whether you try to pull the device out of the surface or, for example, you accidentally step into it. So this is an instantaneous adhesion tape. All you need to do is really to put the tape that is provided together with the kit. So you put the tape onto the Veratron Go and then you just press it onto the surface for like 5 or 6 seconds, not more, and the installation is guaranteed. So as you will see, now you don't see it very well, but this tape is a soft, thick tape. So you don't need to use a primer on the surface or to sand, to roughen the surface before installing the device, because the thickness of the tape allows to install the device also in a rubbed or onto a textured material. So this is a valid mounting concept that we designed for this object. Although if you really need to screw installation, we do also offer an optional bracket for mounting this device. This is a plastic bracket, also with a minimum thickness. So you see it here, also in my hands. In this case, the Veratron Go is taped onto the bracket and not on the surface of your vessel, and then the entire assembly is screwed with 3 screws onto your surface. Let's say this installation does not really jeopardize the overall aesthetics of the device, because the profile of this bracket is only 5 millimeters in height. So the overall height, let's say, of the whole installation won't be changed that much. We sell this, as I mentioned, as an optional, as a spare part, as an optional bracket. You will find it in a kit together with the mounting screws. Let's come then to the compliance, another very important topic. So this device comes with the regular CE mark that we have for all our products that meet all our internal environmental or electromagnetic compatibility tests. And additionally, the device is also REACH and RoHS compliant. As I always do, I would like to say that all the Veratron products are actually produced REACH and RoHS compliant. At Veratron, we do a lot in favor of the environment. Our production runs completely lead-free. We are also doing this not only for products, but also with the packagings. We're trying to reduce to the minimum the plastic usage in our packagings. So the Veratron Go itself actually comes with an environmental friendly recycled carton box. So this is something that I always mention, but I think it's quite important to keep an eye on the environment too. So besides that, the device, the Veratron Go, is also compliant to UL 94 regulations with level V0, which states that the device is a flame retardant plastic. It's an IP67 protection degree, so another critical feature for outdoor device. As we saw, thanks to the resin component in the back, the water intrusion is definitely not a topic. Then, for what it concerns Bluetooth, the device has a modular approval for several countries. We will see in a while more detail on this. And last but not least is also NMEA 2000 certified. I would like to spend a couple of words about this, because there are a lot of devices in the market claim to be NMEA 2000 compliant, for example, but there is an important difference between an NMEA 2000 certified product or an NMEA 2000 compliant product. So when a device is certified, it means that the Veratron Go, for example, was tested by NMEA 2000 itself with more than 100 tests that are involving software, but also safety, electrical safety, and ensure that the device correctly works together with our NMEA 2000 devices on board, and it does not jeopardize the entire system. This is really important, especially for a GPS, for example, which the Veratron Go is. You would like all your system, all your devices that you have on board to correctly read the GPS data. So just know the difference. If you go on Google, on the NMEA 2000 official website, you can always search for NMEA 2000 certified products. And there you will find all the Veratron products, and including also the Veratron Go. So this was all about the common features, the features that are shared between the three variants of the Veratron Go. Let's now have a look at the GPS receiver. So this feature, as we saw already, is used into the Veratron Go GPS, clearly, and the Veratron Go Plus. This GPS receiver is a high-performance GNSS antenna. So we use the term GPS normally just because it's more known in the market, but the correct name for this would be GNSS, which stands for Global Navigation Satellite System, which is more generic. The GPS is actually just one constellation out of many that is supported by this device. Actually, the Veratron Go supports the GPS, but also the GLONASS and the Galileo constellation. So it's a very advanced receiver module, recent technology. It allows also for precision augmentation through SBAS. Just for some additional data that you will see anyway into the datasheet, we have 72 channel reception with a 10 Hz update rate, a very high tracking sensitivity, which is really important if you don't want to lose your GPS signal during navigation. And another important feature is the time to first fix, so-called. So how much time it takes to get GPS signal. So in hot start, it takes less than 1 second, while in cold start, which means when the boat is completely off and you turn it on for the first time, it takes maximum 30 seconds. Another feature is the robustness, actually, to external interference. Another plus to this device when it's installed in a highly electrical environment, like nowadays a boat electrical system is. When it comes to deliver data, this is an NMEA 2000 certified device, as I mentioned, so of course all the data are standard NMEA 2000 PGNs. You see them listed here, so every device aboard that is compatible or is able to read NMEA 2000 data will be able to read this information like time, speed, position, and all the classical GPS data that are commonly delivered by a receiver. When it comes to accuracy, Veratron Go is also a top-level receiver. The position accuracy is less than 2.5 meters, and the velocity accuracy, so the speed, is accurate up to 0.05 meter per second, which translates directly into accuracy in the speed over ground, and the heading accuracy is less than 0.3 degrees, which then in turn enhance the measurement of the course over ground. That was it. That was, I think, also enough for the description of the GPS receiver. Let's have a look now to the, if you want more interesting, Bluetooth gateway features. This is actually the big innovation we did in the Veratron Go. We're talking about NMEA 2000 to Bluetooth Low Energy Gateway, and vice versa, of course. So what this device does is to repeat all your data, all your vessel data that are digital on the NMEA 2000 network to Bluetooth Low Energy link, so towards your smartphone. The fact that this is a Bluetooth low energy, it means, as the name suggests, that the consumption is really low, especially if we compare it to Wi-Fi, for example, or to classic Bluetooth. This makes it really an ideal solution, for example, for small vessels, or for all those installations where battery consumption is an issue. For example, I can think about small sailboats, so where battery is really a critical component of the system. When it comes to features, here also some other technical details. The Bluetooth transmits on over the 2.4 gigahertz band with 40 channel. The maximum connection range is 160 meters. There is a small asterisk here. You can imagine why, because this is always a critical number to say, because it depends a lot on where the device is installed and how really the reflection and the construction of the inside of your vessel is. But this 160 meter is a pretty accurate measurement, let's say. The hardware allows up to 7 simultaneous connections, and also the device pairing via password, via PIN code, is also supported to protect your data depending on the use case or what you are doing with the data. You can think of encrypting them via password, or to protect or to prevent anyone to access your boat data. Here you see how many data at the moment we are supporting. So these are around the 50 data, more or less, and all of this data you have to think that are delivered for every instance. If we think, for example, as engine RPM is transmitted for up to 4 engines, so this data is actually 4 data. You see that this information is really a lot, and all of them are available on your phone now. So I say on the first release because, as we always do with all our products, if you know all our other displays or our devices, we always update them. So we support this information, this data transfer at the moment, but we might support more in the future. We have always regular updates released throughout the year. So, but I think that even to start is a good amount of information. And then, if you're familiar with Bluetooth, all these data are then grouped into characteristics. So also the interfacing to the Veratron Go Bluetooth is really easy. As I mentioned at the beginning, the Bluetooth module also comes with a global certification. This is mandatory for a Bluetooth device and in general for radio frequency devices. So you see that all the major countries are covered and are listed here. Let's come now to the use cases, which is the most important part, because at the moment we just talked about the gateway feature. So, but what do we do then with the data that we have now on your smartphone? So, the NavDash is the first launched app compatible with the Veratron Go. I will show it to you in a while. We just launched it for tablets and for smartphone. Is a remote wireless dashboard for your vessel. We will see a little bit more later on. But again, this is just the first app we have developed. There are a lot of use cases that are being opened by this hardware, by the Veratron Go. So you can think about different use cases like wireless device update or the configuration of your onboard electrical system to configure your boat, or other service and diagnostic, for example, and other critical feature that normally you would like to do wirelessly, or data logging again. So I would like you for a moment to think about how many use cases you can do on your smartphone by simply developing an app compatible with the Veratron Go. We would like to encourage you also to do so and to take a moment to think about it, because nowadays the creation of an app is something that is accessible pretty much to everyone, and the Veratron Go represents a valid and reliable hardware to provide you the data. So with all the data that we saw before, more than 50, you can think really about a lot of use cases. But to start, then let's see the first one, so the NavDash app. As I said before, this is the first app that we have launched. We are launching it right now, which is available for both, of course, the platforms, Android and iOS, for smartphones, and very soon also for tablets. I will show you also how it looks like in a while. This app is developed to have a real-time visualization of your vessel status. So you will have all your vessel data always available at your fingertip. Let's have a closer look to the features that this app offers. The first one is the engine monitoring. So the engine monitoring is a nice graphical representation of an engine cockpit. You can display up to 4 engines, and you have aside some customizable data fields that allows you to customize your mobile dashboard as you prefer. Another view is the vessel data, which is the one that you see now represented in this picture, which is just a more simple, but let's say more general compared to the engine monitoring feature that allows you to set some numerical fields, for example, to monitor your fluid tanks, fuel, or speed. You can customize this screen as you prefer. So we saw already how many data you can choose from. Another feature of this app is the navigation. You see here represented on the tablet. This feature is developed to allow the navigation performance monitoring. In the central part, you have the wind rows where you have tick marks for the apparent and the true wind angle. You will see the typical sailing data like heading or all the wind data, and aside there are again, other fields that you can freely configure to customize, again, your navigation dashboard. Another very interesting feature of the app is the intelligent battery monitor. If you're familiar with our newly launched intelligent battery sensor, this feature of the NavDash app allows you to monitor closely your battery banks. You can see a lot of very specific information like the state of charge of the battery, temperature, the state of health, to do some maintenance on the battery, preventive maintenance of the battery. That's the goal of having information like the battery health. So this is a very useful feature of the app, in my opinion, because it allows you, through an intensive monitoring on your battery, to extend their lifetime too. And as a last feature, but not less important, the alarm notification. So here, at any time, through your app, you can always receive alarms coming from your vessel, coming from NMEA 2000. You will get notification whether you have your phone sitting in your pocket or installed on your dashboard. You will see any alarm that is triggered on board, and any time that you access your boat, the phone automatically reconnects and it downloads again all your alarms. So you can always see the status of your boat and the alarms that are active on it. Another interesting feature of the NavDash application is the remote nav control. So this is a representation of our actual Aqualink nav control. So you can basically, with the wireless, with your phone, control all our Aqualink displays. For instance, the mast unit, as you see here in this picture. So there is a virtual knob, so-called, that simulates the turning of the knob. You will see more just in a while when I will show you the app. And you can do some additional features like the touch lock or unlock, switch the displays, or operate the menus of these devices from a distance and without having to access the nav control. At the moment, this is compatible with our Aqualink devices, but in future will also be compatible with our new coming display series. So I would like to show you now shortly how the NavDash app looks like. So let's take a moment to have a look at that. This is how the NavDash application looks like on the smartphone. I hope you can see it well on screen, although I really recommend you to download the app by yourself and play around so you can see it with your hand how it looks like. However, this is the home screen of the app. You see that from here you can access all the functions of the app that I showed you also before. On the top side you have a bar, a status bar, where you can access the home screen, you can access the settings of the app, you can pair a Veratron GO device, and here you have a notification of the active alarms. You see at the moment one alarm is active, is notified here. So let's have a look. For example, when we want to pair with a Veratron GO device, we can access here. So you see that this Veratron GO data is actually paired to this phone. You see it because this line is green. Normally here, this is the screen you access to when you want to search for a device and to pair to them. So now that we have our Veratron GO data connected, we can access the settings. You see that the settings here are grouped in 5 different categories. You have some engine setup, tanks, battery setup, you have the units that you can choose, and you have the last setting, which is the number of mast unit displays. I will show you in a while for what this is used. So the first 3 setups, so the engine, the tanks, and the battery setup, are used to basically tell the app how your system is composed. So here you can select the number of engines, you can select the maximum RPM of those engines. In the tanks setup, you can say how many fuel tanks, how many fresh and how many wastewater tanks you have in your system. And the last one, with the battery setup, you can tell how many batteries your system is composed of. So these are quite basic settings for your system. The units setting, this is self-explaining, so you can select units for basically every data type, from distance, speed, wind and depth. So all the possible data can be customized in the unit between imperial, metric and so on. So let's leave the must unit settings for later. So in general, the entire app can be used both in portrait mode like this, or also in landscape mode like this. This basically depends on how your smartphone is eventually installed on the dashboard, if it's installed maybe with a smartphone or tablet holder, or how you prefer to see the data. So let's go quickly through all the functions. So this is the engine monitoring screen. You see that is a graphical representation of your engine status. At the moment there is a simulation running on NMEA 2000. You see the data being simulated. In the central part you have the tachometer with some sidebars. In the bottom side fixed you have the rudder angle indication, quite big and visible. And aside this graphical tachometer you have 4 customizable data fields. Here you can place any data that you like just by simply keeping pressed on the data fields, and you can select the data that you want to use. As you see here, all the data available that we saw before during the presentation are grouped within different categories: engine, GPS, navigation data. So it's better for you to find out one data among all the more than 50 data that are delivered by the Veratron Go. So here we simply select one category, for example engine, and then we select here which data we would like to have in this field. So you see that now the data is changed. So here I can really customize my dashboard with the most important data for me. This is the single engine, but as we saw before, if we go back, for example, in the settings menu, we can change the engine setup to 2, for instance. We can close the settings, and you see that now the engine monitoring screen has 2 tachometers, so it's for double engine. At the moment the second engine is currently not simulated, but anyway, this behaves exactly like the first engine. In the middle you have 4 customizable data fields again, and in the bottom side you have the rudder angle indication. So again, to customize any of these fields, key press, select the data category you want to have, and then select the data, and eventually select the instance, so the battery 1, for example, and then the dashboard is customized. When we go back, we can have a look also at the navigation screen. So we can, when we access the navigation, you see the screen is very similar to the engine monitoring, despite in the center being the windrows instead of the engine. So this is the typical representation for sailing boats. This is very common. So you have marks for apparent and true wind. You have the central heading indication. In the bottom you have still the rudder indication, and aside the 4 data fields that once again you can customize with the data that you prefer. So let's go back one step again to see the vessel data. So this screen is best seen when the smartphone is in portrait mode. So when you access the vessel data, this is a numerical screen. So this is, if you want a simple screen that is not tied to engines or navigation, but is more a generic screen. So you can use this screen, for example, to monitor your tanks, or to monitor your speed, or whatever data you prefer. Here you can customize again the data fields that you have. You can change, and you can have this screen customized as you prefer. So let's go back again and have a look at the battery monitor. This is one of the most important features of the app, because it allows to monitor your batteries through the intelligent battery sensor. So As you see on top, you have a big representation of the state of charge of your battery. At the moment, this line is green, but it will eventually become yellow or red if your state of charge is decreasing. And in the bottom side, you have 4 data, this time not customizable because these are very specific data for your battery delivered by the battery sensor. So you have the voltage and you have the current. Then you have the battery temperature and also the state of health of your battery. This is a very important indicator of the aging of your battery, which is an early indicator of batteries to be changed. So it's good to do preventive maintenance on your battery system. If in the settings you selected more than one battery in your system, then you can scroll through all the status of all your batteries. So let's go back again and have a look at the nav control feature. This feature is specifically designed to have a wireless solution to our Aqualink nav control. Here the same features are available, so you can use this virtual knob to scroll through the screens. So like if you were turning the knob, there is a haptic feedback in the device that gives you a sensitive feedback in your hand when you're operating the displays, and you can confirm or access menu by pressing the central part of the knob. In the bottom side, you have the 4 buttons of the nav control that are used to operate the displays, so you can go back or access the settings. You can scroll the favorite screen that you have stored in your display without having to access to them. And then you can switch the display that is controlled. So every time you press this button, the display is being switched. The last feature is the touch lock. This is a much appreciated feature by sailors because it allows to freeze or to lock the touch feature of the display. This is a very useful feature during navigation. So with this button you can lock the screen or unlock the screen. So now let's go back to see the last feature, but not less important feature of the app, which is the alarms. So as I showed you already, you always have a notification on top of every screen about how many alarms are active in your system. When we access this menu, then we see here, we see the detail of the alarm which is active at the moment. So at the moment you see I have a low oil pressure alarm active. Every time a new alarm is detected in the system, the app presents you a notification on top of every screen, so you can dismiss, and you get a notification of the alarm on your phone. So this notification is received whether your app is open or not. So this is always received, even when your smartphone is into your pocket. And then you see that on top, on the top bar, now the number of active alarm is 2. So you always have a notification of the active alarms. As I explained you before, these alarms are the ones active in your NMEA 2000 system. Currently, you cannot set an alarm from the smartphone itself, so the alarms have to be set up inside your onboard system. This is a representation of all the alarms that are currently active. So this is it for the Navdash app, a short introduction, a short overview. As I said before, it's better if you really download the app by yourself and you have the chance to play around and have a look on each and every feature. I would like to briefly show you the Navdash application also for the tablet version. So the same functionalities are available for the tablet too, despite the screen being rearranged for the larger screen of the tablet. So you see that you can also pair to the device, you can search the Veratron Go, you can connect to that. So now the connection is being established. Once it becomes green, you see that once it's connected, you immediately receive the alarms that are active once again. So normally this pairing process is something that you don't have to do every time. So every time that the tablet sees the Veratron Go, it automatically connects to that. So you can dismiss. Here you have the home screen. So the biggest difference of the tablet is that it allows for more engines to be monitored in one screen. So thanks to the bigger display, there is more room, more space to host 4 tachometers, for example, that you see here. Now it renders very well on the tablet. In the middle, again, you have some configurable data fields grouped exactly in the same way as we saw before. So this is the only remarkable difference between the tablet and the smartphone version of the DAF app. So you see, when we go back, the navigation screen, for example, this is much more clear, much more big. So it might be useful sometimes to use a tablet instead of a smartphone. And aside, you have much bigger data. The windrows in the center is much larger. So but basically the features are exactly the same. Here you see the settings. You have exactly the same settings that we already saw, and that's it. So this is it. This is the tablet version of the nav app that we will also launch in parallel with the Veratron Go and with the smartphone version of the application. I think that's all for now. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and most important, you enjoyed the Veratron Go. Again, if you have any question, just contact us for more information. Once again, do not forget to download the attachments. So this presentation will be also soon available on our YouTube channel. Just make sure from time to time, just check that if we publish any new product introduction or some product tutorial, for example. And for more information about this product or other product, please visit our website veratron.com. I think that's now everything from my side. So again, thank you for your attention, and see you next time.